Okay, so this deep research feature from OpenAI is a serious release. And in today's video, I'm going to show you all the different ways you could be using it, all the different ways we have been using it and testing it. At this point, it has been over a week since release, and we ran through multiple ChatGPT Pro accounts, which are $200 a piece. And right now, you only get 100 deep researches per account. But let me tell you, if you can use this for your work, this tool is really worth it, because I don't know of a bigger time saver for like a wide audience of general purpose users than deep research, because this thing really saves you time. We're going to go through a bunch of examples like compiling how-to learning guides on specific skills, or researching certain niches, or doing highly personal and interesting things like ancestral research for yourself or others. This thing is very powerful and a real time saver. And for anybody who just tuned into this video without watching my video on the release of this tool, here's the briefest summary I can come up with. Deep Research is the newest ChatGPT feature, only available through the Pro plan right now, which is $200. And instead of just giving you an answer, it goes out into the internet, finds up to 40 sources all across the web, reads all of them, and runs them through currently the world's most intelligent model, O3. It processes all the info from all of these sources, and after somewhere from 5 to 30 minutes, it will give you a report that often is around 10,000 words in length on the topic you picked. And in this video, I'll be showing you various topics and prompts that you could be using this with. One final note before we get into this, I would call this feature sort of the resurrection of prompt engineering. I know a lot of people were dismissing it over the years and saying,
hey, like 2 years from now, you won't be needing prompt engineering.
Well, here we are. I would argue it's more important than ever, because this thing runs in one direction for 30 minutes. And if you set it in the wrong direction by not giving it a good prompt, that's the only directions it takes, you will get subpar results. And that's why prompting this thing correctly is kind of important. With that being said, let's get into the first use case here. And I wanted to start this off with probably the most simple one, but it is really good at compiling these massive lists, okay? So you can use a very simple prompt here to give it a lot of freedom. In other cases, more specific ones will be more important. But here I can let it compile a list of 100 things I can do too, and then you can insert whatever skill you want to improve or area you want to learn about. So in this case, I said find 100 things I can do to improve my communication skills. It comes back with some follow-up questions as per usual. And then look at that. I'll hide everything else here. It found 33 sources and took 11 minutes, by the way. But look at this massive list. By the way, I will put the links to all of these chats in the description below. So if you want to check out some of these concrete results, you can do that from the links below. It even grouped them by category, but let me just pick a random one. How about 47? Start with a hook, grabbing attention from the get-go. Okay, that's a really fantastic tip. And even if I just glaze over this, you can see that all of these are super relevant. Here it's recommending various books and resources. And here you have various techniques on how to practice. Overall, this more open-ended approach to this prompt just lets it scour the internet and come up with what the best strategy is from here. You could always refine it more, and you could let it find another 100 ways to focus on a specific topic, or maybe even come up with 100 drills to improve one specific one. But overall, this is just something I want you to be aware of, as you can use it in a multitude of ways. For example, here I just ran another one. And this one is sort of linked with one of the most popular things of the internet, and I'm pretty sure we also use this for the packaging of the video. I usually don't lean into kind of the making money online theme, as I think that those videos are usually a scam. But first of all, I would like as many people as possible to see this video, to see what's possible with AI today. And secondly, I myself am curious to see what ChatGPT Deep Research would recommend here, especially when I constrained the ways to make money online with a skill that I can learn in a month with zero budget. So I don't know what to expect here, but this should be ready any second. You can see it used the full 40 sources it can reference. And in this case, I would like to point out some of the prompts it actually wrote itself to follow up with itself. I mean, that's how these thinking models work, especially the ones here at the bottom. Look at how long this single prompt is here in the end. It's organizing them by category, adding concise descriptions. It's merging different ones that seem synonymous together. Everything that you would do if you wanted to create a list like this yourself, right? If you were researching this for a blog, these are the steps you would go through, but this is just one of many prompts here in between. So all of this work just gets done automatically. This is the magic of AI. A lot of people tune into this channel for. And sometimes it's just interesting to see the thinking process here of how it went about this. Okay, so it finished here, and look at this. It maxed out the sources at 40 sources. It took 23 minutes to compile this, and it grouped it by different categories. And what I really love is that, look, it starts off with the casual stuff that you would expect, right? You could start freelance writing, copywriting for businesses, proofreading and editing, you could become a VA, and so on. Okay, a lot of ideas right here. Again, link in the description below if you want to check out all of these for yourself. But look at this. As I go further down, these start getting longer, and it gives me more context and details on these. So digital products and passive income. Let's look at a random one. How about 42 2, create and sell graphic templates. It tells you what tools to use. It tells you on what platforms to sell it. Now, I'm not saying this is better than some random article of the internet. I'm saying it's more efficient to have a big list like this. Plus, you have the context in here, so you can just follow up and work with it, as we'll talk about later. But look at some of these. I mean, this is sort of a mini article in itself. Entering naming or slogan contests. Interesting one. Never heard of that. Offering AI-based content or art services? I like that. Okay, let's take another random one here. What about number 100? Participating in micro internships or remote contract gigs on platforms like Parker Dewey, which offers paid micro internships for college students, recent grads. That exists? And then you can do tasks like curate a list of 50 influencers in X industry, pays $150. What? This is a prompt for deep research. Jesus. Okay, either way, pretty impressive stuff. A list of 100 ideas to get you started in no time. That's impressive, and don't worry, we'll get into more in-depth and concrete prompts across various industries later on in this video. All right, next up I have a Twitter post here from Adi here. He was posting various use cases, which I really love. And he asked it to create a detailed learning plan with code snippets and exact steps for making a horror gaming Godot. And he used a combination of tools here, and I thought that was the interesting thing here. So he first used O1 Pro to create this learning plan, and then from that context, he used Deep Research to find extra sources and improve the learning plan. So you can also do things like this. Combine multiple tools, combine multiple prompts that you might have. So you can see everything in this video as sort of a building block that you can then build your own workflow from. So in this case, it creates a report from him, and he linked the chats, but I really want to go deeper into an example that we created within the AI Advantage community. Actually, yesterday, I had an office hour session, which I do twice a month in there, sort of like getting a coffee together and hanging out for an hour or two. And we were throwing around these different prompts to create guides. And eventually from a prompt from Gerhard and a keyword from Matthias, who runs our events, I came up with sort of this prompt that I was really happy with. It used the keyword ultimate, which is extremely powerful here in Deep Research because it's one of the most powerful copywriting words and therefore also one of the most powerful prompting keywords, because it really means the very last, the final, the ultimate in-depth guide for how to learn, and then you can insert anything after that and make it more specific with some extra keywords that you're looking for in here. But again, this one is relatively simple, but with the use of ultimate in-depth guide, you really let it dig deep. In this case, I asked it how to learn generative AI web applications like ChatGPT Midjourney and such, and after a few follow-up questions and me sharing the details of one of the target personas that we crafted for the channel and the community, it found 23 sources, and in 8 minutes it came back with this 4-week guide to learning generative AI for business leaders. Look at that. You get an intro, what to expect, and then you get a 4-week plan. This planned out an entire 1-month workshop on how to learn this in one shot, essentially. And it's quite impressive. I mean, some of these themes are things I talk about and run workshops myself on, like AI personal assistant building. And then it has these different practical tasks that you could use within your week. I reckon it does this because within our business target audience persona, it includes behavioral traits, like the fact that the learning style for this persona is that he or she prefers hands-on practical learning and values real-world examples and case studies. And therefore, that's what you get in this learning plan. I was looking over this, and some things even inspired me to improve the way we teach these things, because projects like creating a marketing makeover with AI is a fantastic way to practice some of this. And then it even recommends concrete resources on how to do these things. And I think we've been really good on these resources, but coming up with little challenges in projects like this in a format that is, and now check this out, this long. I'm still scrolling, by the way, holy moly, is something that no human could have done before in, well, how long did this take me? Like a minute? Because I already crafted my target audiences in one of the prompt engineering exercises that I teach with. But there you go. So if you prepare in advance, in like a minute of work and 10 minutes of waiting time, you can get to this. And I know, I suppose it's more than 4 weeks. Look at that. Week 7 is developing an AI strategy and implementation roadmap for your concrete business. I mean, this is pretty amazing. It includes even hands-on reflection activities, like sketching out a team training plan and creating a roadmap for your organization. I think you get the point here. I was just pretty blown away by this. So then I had to take it and apply it to something on the opposite end of the spectrum, not looking for ROI and KPIs, but just something that I personally enjoy. I love to play games sometimes. Concretely, League of Legends just had a grasp on me ever since I've been like 19. And concretely, there's one champion in there that I want to learn more about and get better with. So I took the same prompt and varied it a little bit. Here, my outcome was that I wanted to improve my rank from silver to diamond in the video game League League of Legends. I focused it on a champion and it came up with a comprehensive guide. And let me just give you some context. I have quite a bit of experience in this game. Back when I was 19, I actually had 2 accounts that were in the top 1% of the worldwide ladder. I don't know if that's a thing to be proud or ashamed of, because it definitely took a lot of hours to get there, even back then. But let me tell you that this in-depth guide, and this was before we discovered the ultimate keyword that would have made it even better, is actually incredible. Not just that it hits on every aspect of what playing the game at a high level entails, but it even goes into fishy strategies that I don't think you would just get straight from an LLM or any typical article. For example, in here, it found one article where dodging games is recommended. Now, this goes against the terms of service against the game, I believe. So you literally have 10 other people in the lobby and you just quit out of the entire application just to dodge a game that was not in your favor. And it recommends you do that if you want to climb, which is a good strategy. But you know, this is not something that you'll find in like an official tutorial. And overall, just the depth of this guide was really, really impressive to me. So from here on out, honestly, anytime I want to learn something or acquire a new skill, creating an in-depth guide with this tool is sort of a no-brainer if you have access to it. And the wonderful thing is now I could always switch over and use something like GPT-4o to just follow up. Or I could use O3 Mini High to think over it and customize it to my needs. Heck, I could even run a second deep research as a follow-up prompt. Okay, let's move on to the next use case, which is actually one from the community. And I don't want to feature this entire prompt because this one is sort of personal. It's looking for safe car seats based on rigorous crash tests and safety reports. It states the concrete country and the car model. And let me tell you, deep research is really, really good at these things. Look at this report that it created here. 25 sources, 6 minutes of thinking time. And then it shows you all the different car seats you would want for your 5-year-old. And look at the in-depth research on each one of these. I mean, this is the type of information you're looking for when you're making an important decision like that, right? Cross-reference with the sites that it took the info from, and you even get a wonderful summary at the bottom. But the reason I wanted to pull up this use case that we ran for one of our community members is the fact that there's this wonderful prompt engineering block at the bottom, expected output. And I wanted to highlight this for you because from prompting LLMs, you might already know that one of the most powerful techniques is just giving it multiple examples of exactly what you're looking for. Also referred to as few-shot prompting. Ideally, you give it 5 examples and it follows them as a template. You can do the same thing for deep research and you can tell it what kind of outputs you expect here so you can guide it. So on one hand, it's amazing to use a goal building block where you tell it, hey, this is where I want to arrive. This is my destination. And then you let the thinking model figure out what the best route to that destination is. But also telling it, hey, in the outputs you're giving me, I have certain expectations and I want you to meet these. And every time it will think over the problem over and over again, it will always consider these expectations. And I just found it to be very useful in prompting this deep research function for yourself. In this case, it includes that, hey, I expect you to include recommendations on where I can buy this in Switzerland. And I expect it to be compatible with the Model 3 and more. So yeah, prompting this thing with a goal makes a lot of sense, just like prompting a thinking model with a goal makes a lot of sense versus being super concrete on the instructions that it should follow. But then also including a building block on expected output makes a ton of sense because then the AI researcher knows what you expect. Again, and these are just little prompt engineering tips and tricks that will make this tool so much more powerful. And at this point, I just want to point out that I've kind of built the entire AI Advantage ecosystem in a way that helps people learn things like this efficiently. And what you're watching right now is the YouTube content that is free, and I love doing that. But then as you might know by now, if you want to go more in depth, we have our premium community that I realize is just not for everyone. Nevertheless, I want to show you the things that we're doing in terms of deep research in there. We created one dedicated space just for deep research where various members can share their prompts. And we said, hey, if you don't have a pro account yourself, just share your prompt and we'll run it for you. And then you can see various prompts and discuss the results in the space. I think that's a wonderful thing. The second one is I ran a lecture on both operator and deep research in tandem. And a lot of that was about the prompting techniques on these two different models and what building blocks to include, what building blocks to exclude compared to traditional prompting. And the last thing is that we started running weekly events in addition to our already busy event schedule with around 15 to 20 events a month that we called Let's Operate. And now we're switching them to Let's Operate/Deep Research, where multiple team members are hanging out and are there to run prompts for you or to discuss outputs or to help you improve your deep researches. So overall, me and the team are doing our best to support our members and getting the most out of tools like this and just having this concrete community of like-minded people and having the ability to open up a room and 15 people can hang out in a room and discuss this, like in my office hours yesterday. It's just a wonderful thing that I think can help many people. Again, I realize it's not for everybody. That's why we do the YouTube and the newsletter. And as you can see, it's all sort of connected and informs each other. I just wanted to let you know that if you watch this video and you're like, hey, I want even more of this, that's why we built a community, because there you can start learning not just from me, but also from the team and also from our over 300 members that keep sharing and discussing whatever new AI releases come up. And this one is currently the hot topic just because it's so capable. All right, Next use case, travel planning. So this has been one of the first prompts you might have heard about when ChatGPT went viral back in early 2023. People were planning their trips, and then when plugins came out, you had the Kayak and the Expedia plugin. I remember those. Those were some of the first ones for them to release. And even now with Operator, they're leading with, hey, you can use Operator to book plane tickets, you can use it to book accommodations, and that's all and well. But really, for me, the biggest value add to me planning travels is actually doing research. It's actually comparing different restaurants, comparing different hotels, looking at 15 different flights and giving me the pros and cons of them, like which one is the best in terms of time, did you find a special deal somewhere? All of these tasks that just take a lot of time. Opening 10, 15 tabs, reading through all of that, putting it into Excel sheet, making sense all of it. That's a task that takes hours. And I gotta say, I don't dread it as much as I do doing my accounting, for example, every month. But whenever I need to travel, just comparing all these options is a bit of a process. And no tool in the history of humanity that I'm aware of does it better than Deep Research. Sure, if you have an assistant, you can give it to the assistant. She can do all of that. But how about you just ran a prompt like this? This was something that we already tried in Operator, and it comes from a YouTube comment on a previous video. But basically, it's a comprehensive travel prompt. And before we go through this, I just want to let you know that you'll get even better results if you focus on one thing only. So only the itinerary, or only the flight, or only the accommodation. In this case, we kind of combine everything in one prompt. And I believe Philip was trying this one out because he's flying out of the Warsaw airport, and he cares more about visiting Japan for an affordable price rather than comfort. With the follow-up stuff, you can always just tell it you choose, and you let it pick whatever it wants. And look at this travel itinerary that considers the cherry blossom season in early April. You get a bunch of links to different flights with the up and down sides and all the prices in here. Look at how many dollar signs are just visible on this one screen. Love to see how concrete it made that, no? Then you have budget stays in the various locations right here, and then it creates an itinerary for you for each day. So day one, you do this, day two, you do that. We know this from ChatGPT already, but this is cross-referenced with way more sites than anything we've seen before. And the thinking model is good at math, so all these calculations are actually right. And you can see all the prices in yen here. And the wonderful thing about this, again, is look, I have my entire itinerary here, the initial research for the flights and the travel. It even included some budget saving tips, because I mentioned that I care about the budget here, with top money saving tips like using the rail pass wisely, or public transport hacks, or eating cheaply like a local. And look at what I'll do now. I'll switch on over to O3 Mini High. How much would this entire trip cost me in dollars? And now it will use the thinking model that is good at math to look at all the deep research that has been done and to give me an estimate. It wasn't included in here, I believe. I mean, I guess you have the budget summary here, but I kind of want a summary of it all. And because there's a conversation, you can just keep going and take the info that it found. And that's something that you really got to internalize, because deep research can only be a first step in your chats. So just like with ChatGPT, some of the best results come from follow-up prompts and from chain prompting, or crafting these big prompts from a previous conversation you had. The same thing goes here. Just because this comes up with a 10,000 word report, it doesn't mean your interaction needs to end there. And look at that. The entire 2-week trip would cost around $3,910 with a breakdown above. A really wonderful use case, and I've been even thinking about a trip to Japan. It would be kind of nice to do it with AI tools and document the whole thing on the channel, no? Maybe I'll do a second channel for that though. I don't know, still thinking about that. Anyway, on to the next use case. So this one is from Twitter and I really enjoyed it. Check it out. And Keith here is tweeting a prompt for Adi to try out. So it'll probably refuse, but ask it for. And here's the prompt. A comprehensive overview of all DeepSeek research papers up to R1 and Janus Pro, their novel innovations, their failed experiments, their key insights, and what they might have in store for 2025. And then Deep Research looks at all the scientific papers published by DeepSeek and creates this massive summary of all the learnings and how their competitive positioning is against OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google. And it even speculates on future developments in 2025. Like, for example, this one. DeepSeek has shown they are not afraid of huge models as long as they can manage cost. In 2025, they could attempt to break the 1 trillion parameter barrier, perhaps a DeepSeek V4. And then it goes into technical details on how they would achieve this. And I hope you're appreciative of what is going on right here. I mean, we have an AI system speculating on the future development of a Chinese research lab that is developing world-class open source technology. I mean, this is wild. What kind of timeline are we living in? I really don't know at this point, but what you can take away from this use case is that you can use it on research papers. Heck, you could even give it the concrete links to them or copy-paste the content, and then you can let it speculate on future developments. It will look at various articles, and O3 is just so good at thinking over something that you will probably get results that are at least worth considering in your analysis. Okay, next up, and this is a really good one. Shout out to Meg K. Wrigley on X here, always coming up with with good and interesting prompts. And basically he has a big prompt here for a personalized news research. And I've been using and refining this one a little bit, and I'll show you that in a second. So here I have an example from a week ago, and I'm still playing with it, but this is his original one where I just changed the date with all of his context. And basically it creates a personalized news briefing for you like this. Now, the amazing thing about this is really that if you play with the prompt a little bit and make it even more specific on your personal interests. So for example, here it tells it that your interests are things you want to keep up with, like AI and general tech news and general business news and things relating to Doge. And then it delivers that. And what we've been playing with recently in the community is taking all of this and throwing it into Notebook LM. The result being a personalized news podcast just for you, based on your interests of two humans basically speaking to each other about news of the day. I mean, that's wild. Unfortunately, there's no way to automate that yet because there's no Deep Research API yet. And I believe Google was talking about expanding Notebook LM. I know it's in the Google Workspace plan now, but I don't believe they have an API yet. I mean, there's open source alternatives that are pretty good. So if we had a Deep Research API or open source version, and then we have an open source Notebook LM, then you could easily build an app that every day goes out there, scours the internet for all the news stories, presents them to you in exactly the formats that you want to see them in, and then maybe your favorite podcasters or actor's voice could speak it and summarize it in as concise or detailed of a manner as you want. And that's not even some sci-fi scenario. That is what is possible with a few minutes of time and a few copy pastes across different AI apps today. All we need is an API release, and then I guess within a year or something we'll have it on Google Home and Siri, Alexa, all of those. But right now you could be doing this manually, and by just simply customizing this prompt, you can be already crafting your personalized AI news roundup. I think this is actually one of the most valuable ones. And then I can follow up with something like give me a bullet point summary of all stories. And if I don't even have time for this report, I could just look at some of these bullet points and see if something here interests me. And if I really care about one topic, I could just turn on Deep Research and go deeper into one of these stories, and it will create a report on the US stock drops due to the new tariffs. That was last week, and how that could impact my industry and my work that I would ideally have saved in my custom instructions, right? And this is what I was saying all along, and I'm so glad that some of the predictions I've made on this channel are coming true, because I've always been saying all of these AI related skills, they're not that deep. They don't take months to acquire, right? Learning the prompt engineering basics takes like 2 days maybe. Learning about the different tools like the thinking models or the web search or stuff like Notebook LM and image generators. Each one of those takes like hours and not days to learn the basics of. And if you have that, you can craft personas and custom instructions for yourself. And my point was always that these skills stack, right? So if you learn basics of prompting and you learn how to build a basic GPT and you can craft basic custom instructions, well, now you can bring all of that together and you can craft your own personalized news feeds to yourself because you already crafted your own custom instructions that include all the details of what you care about, what your value system is about, what your work is about, what your personal relationships look like, what your personality is like. If you have those things already, you can include them in these prompts, and it's not a grand mystery on how to customize this to your needs and how to make this even more specific to your world. And the reward of that is information and time advantage over anybody who is not using this tool today and not watching this video right now. So yeah, go out there and build some basic skills. I mean, I realize this is a $200 tool right now, but give it a month or two and the competition will catch up. And as I said, some of these skills that I just pointed out, you can learn those freely if you have time on your hands. If you value your time higher than your money, then again, that's why we built a community. There we have courses on everything I just pointed out. But I just want to speak to everybody who's looking at this video and is like,
oh, this seems really powerful, but it's not really worth it for me right now.
Go and build some of these other skills. Learn a bit more about prompting. Learn a bit more about automations and building chatbots. Those skills and understanding you gain there will not go away anytime soon. The frontier stuff, like this Deep Research release, is often going to require some of them. And honestly, at this point, people saying,
like learning Gen AI tools.
If anything, I think those skills are only going to become more relevant as more killer features like this keep coming out. Okay, I have a few more here. This one isn't a concrete prompt, but it went quite viral on X over here, so I wanted to show it to you. OpenAI's Deep Research and O3 is exceeding the value of $150K. I am paying a private research team to research craniopharyngioma treatments for my daughter. Not a doctor, okay? $200 a month is an insane ROI. Like, you already have all the tools you need to do this if you have access to Deep Research. And I'll just say create an ultimate in-depth research on craniopharyngioma, all right? treatments. I don't even more know about this at this point, so I'll just let it come up with some of the follow-up questions here. Ideally, you would want to include a building block on the target audience here, which in that case would be his daughter. But if you just answer these, you can expect a report as detailed as some of these. In this case, I'll just say you choose so we see what it comes up with. But my point is that if you've already been using ChatGPT to gather a second opinion on specific scientific reports or a medical diagnosis, well, this will only do better with that. Okay, here it is, the comprehensive research on craniopharyngioma. And then there you go, definition, origin, the different types, incidence, and the fact that it's very rare. And then you get a comparison table of different subtypes right here. You get treatment modalities. Oh my God, are you seeing this scroll bar here on the right? Radiation therapy right here, drug therapies, alternative treatments. Let's see how much it digs up here. Global treatment guidelines. We're 1/3 of the way in, guys. Recent clinical trials and research advances. Obviously, this is way too much to review in just this video, but if your child is struggling with serious health-related issues like here, you're reading all of this twice, 3 times over. I mean, look at that. It even gives you a prognosis and long-term outcomes and patient and caregiver perspectives on this and what impact it has on the surrounding people. Talk about the ultimate in-depth research on a specific topic. I think this does it. In this case, it's quite a simple prompt, and you could take this way further by fleshing out details about your situation, or maybe even adding context that you already have from your doctors, like a concrete diagnosis or things you have tried already. All I have to say here is this is seriously impressive and a powerful tool that is accessible to the wider public now that I think everybody should at least be aware of. Okay, 2 more things I want to show you. One of them is something that I don't actually want to concretely show you. This is something I've just been trying for myself, so let me just quickly tell you about it. It's really good at Ancestral Research. So the way I went about this is I gave it the names of one part of my family, and then it just blew my mind on what kind of stuff it dug up. I mean, it was looking into immigration documents from the state of New York in the 1920s. Apparently somebody with my family name emigrated there in the 1920s. Also, it was looking at like church logs from the 16th century or something like that from the Czech Republic where my ancestors lived. It found a royal family in Slovakia with my exact name that comes from the region where my great-grandparents lived at, and so much more. That one is a bit personal. I don't want to share all the details of that right now, but I'm just saying the ability for it to do a little bit of ancestral research for yourself. Obviously, if you're not comfortable with sharing these things with OpenAI, then don't do that. But honestly, all you need for that is just the full names of your parents, and you can really learn some interesting details about the ancestry of anybody, I guess. So that's just one that I briefly wanted to share, and that like kind of blew my mind. And I'm going to be going further into that. Obviously, the more names you give it, the better it will perform there. And the final one here is from community member Chris. And Chris is always good for an in-depth discussion on various AI tools. And here he came up with an excellent prompt. So he probably used some prompt improver to really flesh this out. But I just wanted to share this one conversation here with you to round out the video, because he was investigating the hypothesis that the federal procurement process is excessively time-consuming and complex for new companies, particularly small enterprises and startups, potentially hindering market accessibility and supplier diversity. And then he went into all of these details, all the problems that he encountered and knows about, and he told ChatGPT to focus on federal agencies and to focus on small businesses and private sector procurement practices with a 10-year retrospective. And then Deep Research came out with an analysis on an average onboarding time for a small business to work on a federal contract, with details on how the SAM.gov registration system works and how long it usually takes. There's details on the process and what to expect there, what steps are required, what factors drive the complexity with the system, what challenges these vendors are facing, and so much more. I mean, this is one beast of a report, and I can only imagine how useful this has to be for an entrepreneur venturing into a new space without previous experience in it. I mean, this is mad. This is like paying a consultant that has experience with all of this. Okay, look, let's be fair and say it how it is. It's probably not a top dollar consultant that has like a lifetime of experience in this area, but it's certainly better and way, way faster than many of the alternatives you have. Like asking the people you know. Maybe like me, you don't know anybody who went through the federal procurement process and you wouldn't even know where to start. Or the other alternative, which is just browsing the internet endlessly. That will cost you so much more time than running one well-crafted prompt like this and reading the entire entire report. Even Chris says here, incredible insights. And then again, this can just be your starting point. You can continue with the challenges you encountered, and maybe you can copy communications with some of these agencies into here and use this as context on how to interact with them properly. I mean, look, I think you get the point here. This thing is a massive lever on your time. With a little bit of prompting skills, you can get something done in minutes, a lot of times in like a minute or two, plus the waiting time, obviously, but I'm not really counting that. You could just have it run in the background. But otherwise, in cases of creating these 10, 12,000 word in-depth guides, or a list of 100 alternatives to solve a specific problem, or how to practice a specific skill, or how to venture into a new industry that you know nothing about as an entrepreneur, would practically take you a day or two to research and put together. What can I say? It's a new age, and I'm beyond grateful to be in this position to show you what is possible with these tools. So I hope some of our findings here from this video will help you on your journey to improve your life with the use of generative AI tools. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.